You know, I think if Cary Grant had to end his career, I don't think he could have made a better choice than this film and this great actress as his leading lady. And of course, I have to ask you first of all, what was it like to work with Cary Grant?
Well, pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I realized at the time, and watching the film now, I haven't seen it for many, many years, how honored I was to be in that position. That was, what luck, really, you know, to be cast in it. And it was really incredible, and I'm so happy to have seen it after so long.
It is sort of amazing in a way that at the start of your sort of starring career, you worked with three sort of legendary people. You were directed in The Collector by William Wyler, his last film. You worked with Cary Grant, his last film. And then you went on to co-star opposite Rex Harrison in Dr. Dolittle, which was really the last major film that he made. And yet again, I wonder, were you aware of this at the time? Did you know that you were sort of working with legends?
You mean putting them in the grave? No, I mean, again, honor comes into it. William Wyler, yes, won the most Oscars of any director ever. I'd known Rex actually personally, but who better to do a musical with than Rex Harrison? And I don't know, just luck.
Mm-hmm. And actually, you mentioned musicals, so I want to ask you this question. I discovered that Samantha Eggar and Richard Burton were signed to play in Goodbye, Mr. Chips. And yet, of course, as we all know, the remake starred Peter O'Toole and Petula Clark. So, here's my opportunity to ask why. What happened? What went wrong?
I have no idea, but there is a photoplay front page that says Miss Taylor was a little nervous of Richard and I making the movie together. Absolutely ridiculous. And the next thing, I beg your pardon, and the next thing was that we were both out of the film, but we did get paid. So.
Let's sort of start at the beginning now and go back to where your career began in England. And was it Betty Box who discovered you at that time?
Yes. Betty Box and Rafe Thomas, they were the leading producer-director team at Pinewood Studios in the late 50s, 1960. And she'd seen me in a play at the Royal Court Theatre, and she put me in a film, and then she put me in another film, and that was really the beginning of my film career.
Because in fact, you know, Betty Box belongs to a sort of remarkable dynasty of filmmakers. You've got Muriel Box, and her sister, correct?
Yes, I think so. And Peter Rogers.
And Peter Rogers, who of course made all the Carry On films later, and he was married to Muriel, or
no, he's married to Betty. Yes.
Very confusing family. And then you've got Sydney Box, of course, who was even a more important producer in a way, made that wonderful Seventh Veil with Anne Todd.
Well, you know, the British film industry at that time was basically the leading film industry, with not only the comedies, but you had Richard Attenborough, Dirk Bogarde, and Jack Hawkins making all those incredible films for England at that time. And every country has its moment in the sun, as it were, and at that time it was England.
And how did you come to America? I mean, was The Collector the start, really, or even though I guess it was made in England, but it's the start of your American career, or not?
Yes, no, I was actually finishing another film, I think, with Patricia Neal, and was asked to go and read for Mr. Wyler. We did a short. Yes, it was going to be filmed in England, and then they came to America, but it was just an audition.
Yeah. Do we have some questions from the audience?
So you were working with two really great physical comics, and I'm curious how you were directed, if you were directed for the rhythm of playing comedy in this film.
With Carrie?
Well, Carrie, and also with Jim Hunt too. You had two pretty great.
Yes, I did. Carrie was...
Basically, the question was the rhythm of filmmaking, working with two great comedians, and how did the direction work?
Carrie was so generous to me. He never told me what to do, he just showed me. And as you see, it was amazing, the silent moments in this film, that he just stood there and used his body and his eyes and his face, and he just, that's how he moved me along in the scenes. Now the scene with all the timing for the bathroom was completely ad-libbed. There was no script for that because we could never get it right anyway. And finally we said, to hell with this, let's just do it. And so all of that scene was absolutely ad-libbed.
You remembered it all?
Well, if we didn't, we just made it up. Two takes, yeah.
And it was nice actually to see John Standing looking so young as your fiancé.
John was absolutely wonderful, yes. My son is in the audience tonight, and I have to say that that's the first scene I shot in Tokyo was the scene running down the street in that nice white Dior dress. I'd had my son 17 days previously, and so the Japanese very kindly bound me up so that I could actually run down those streets in high heels.
Over there.
One of the things I was thinking about was I had heard that Cary Grant was getting a little sensitive on age at that point in Charade. He really insisted that Audrey had to fall in love with him, not vice versa. He was sensitive about being so much older than she was. Did that come up at all in this?
Yeah, the question is about was Cary Grant really sensitive about his age? And I don't think this movie suggests that at all.
I don't think so. I mean, I noticed all the sort of, you know, the idea of him not being able to see with the glasses and things, but there was nothing to do with age. I think that those were stories that you know, the photoplay kind of stories at that time. He was so fully in command of being a producer. And that clock, the clock by the bed, his clock, he brought all his own props to Japan with him. He was such a perfectionist. So not only was I having direction as to do comedy, but we were all seeing him with the producer's hat on. And I don't think I've ever worked for a producer that was better than Cary Grant.
Did he select Charles Walters as the director?
I have no idea.
Because Charles Walters, I mean, is an old-fashioned director, but he's perfect for this type of film in a way. He knows what he's doing.
Yes, no, I don't know. You know, I was busy having a child.
Over there.
Had you seen the earlier Barbara Stanwyck version of this story?
Jean Arthur.
Jean Arthur. Sorry.
Jean Arthur.
Yeah.
No, I mean, do you remember in those days there were no DVDs. I mean, you'd have to know somebody terribly rich who'd have a projection and be able to see it. So, no, I mean, I've never seen The More the Merrier.
Back there.
You went from living in a tiny garret-sized cage of a room to living in a cramped apartment. You went from living next to a man against your will to living with a man against your will. You must have had a strong sense of deja vu and a strong sense of whiplash going from with the extremes of tone, going from the collector to Walk Don't Run. How was the transition for you?
I'm not going to repeat the question. I hope you heard it.
I didn't hear all of it.
Well, basically, it's like the cramped situation in The Collector to the cramped situation in Walk Don't Run. And psychologically, How did it affect you, or not?
Did it show on my face? Quite a few years there between the two films. No.
You didn't even think about it, actually.
No.
It was wonderful to see you in that scene with George Takei, and I'd like to ask you, what is it like nowadays being involved in the very interesting and worrisome Star Trek universe?
George Takei, of course, played the police chief in the film, and I thought it actually was quite amazing. He suddenly, I wasn't expecting it, and I thought, wow, it's Star Trek.
I'd forgotten that too.
So,
yes.
And so, how does it feel to live in the Star Trek world?
Do I?
You do.
I did a Star Trek.
That's right.
Anybody's
Oh, you're getting that. Okay. Yes. I mean, was he? I don't think he was. No, it wasn't. It was another series, the one that I did, I think. But I'd forgotten. In fact, I turned to Nicholas. I said, "Is that?" Yes, it is.
You're Captain Picard's sister-in-law.
I am Captain Picard's sister-in-law. Yes.
It's sort of scary. We've got Trekkies in the audience.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was. I think he came to Earth twice, or maybe only once, and that was it. He was captured by the Borgs, and he had to come down to
recuperate
to Earth.
on
Yes,
your farm in
R&R.
France.
Almost sent out of the services.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Your recollections on working with Terence Stamp. It's such a dark movie, The Collector.
Working with Terence Stamp on the very dark movie, The Collector.
Well, I would say my recollections are more turned towards William Wyler, really. Basically, as you know, if you've seen the movie, there are just two of us in it. I was at drama school with Terry, but for the sake of the movie, we never spoke throughout the whole film. And so he really, off stage and on, was the character he played. So my huge relationship was with Mr. Wyler, and also a woman named Kathleen Freeman, who you may know, a brilliant woman, who really got me through that film. Because it was not an easy film to make, it's just the subject matter.
Was it William Wyler's decision that you and Terence Stamp should not communicate, or did you as actors decide?
No, I think maybe it was the studio.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. You're beautiful on screen, and you're beautiful in person.
I love you. Thank you.
I'm wondering, you said it has been many, many years since you've seen the film. Were you emotional sitting in your chair? Was it, and what memories did it stir up for you?
Well, thanks for that question. It was a double-edged sword, to tell you the truth. Because, I don't know, how many ladies work after 17 days, let alone run down the street and then have to make a movie? Plus, because I asked for a couple of days to recover, Columbia sued me. Yeah, I got a little knock on the door because I wasn't on the plane to Tokyo. So, some of those moments in my face were really the fact of leaving my child behind and being so very far away. I mean, we're talking about 1964 when flying to Japan. That was a long way to go. And the communications, I mean, you couldn't make a telephone call. It was, we'll call you back with your long distance call, you know, and you'd have to wait. So there were moments when I remembered how incredibly sad I was. And yet, the brilliance of being, of the gift of Carrie and realizing the importance of that. And I also learned something the other day. From Tokyo, you see Mount Fuji. We were there, maybe, I don't know, we were there for about 6 weeks shooting. I never saw the mountain. Opened the surgery screens, never saw it. It was always, the day I left Tokyo, I saw this magnificent mountain. I was in a Japanese shop the other day, and the lady happened to recognize me, and she knew about the film. And I told her that story, and she said, "You're so lucky!" And I went, "Why didn't anybody tell me that in 1964? I always thought, why didn't I see that beautiful mountain? Apparently there's a haze. Maybe some of you know. Most people in Tokyo never see the mountain. And it's a sort of smog kind of idea. So I thought, here I am, almost dead, and I found out that I'm very lucky.
The lady there.
One of my favorite childhood films is Dr. Dolittle. Do you have any memories from that?
Memories of Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, wonderful memories. Wonderful memories. Anthony
Newley.
Anthony Newley, the brilliant Leslie Bricusse, Herbert Ross, who did all the music and the dance. Every time I finished a film, I always wanted to do something new. The studio never liked that. They always wanted you to do the same theme. But when I finished The Collector, I said I wanted to do a musical, and I landed Dr. Dolittle. When I finished that, I said I wanted to do a comedy, and I landed the one you've just seen now. So Dr. Dolittle took a year to film. We were in 3 different locations with all those animals. And despite what people say about Rex, he's not only, as I said earlier, the most brilliant, nobody can play My Fair Lady like Rex. We all, we had a wonderful time making that film. And we recorded the songs at Capitol Records. And I was sitting on Frank Sinatra's stool, and I saw his bottle of booze. Newman pointed it out and said, "That's Frank's drink, don't touch it." And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. I mean, it was just incredible. I loved it. I loved it. We all loved it. We were a very strong bond, the group of actors.
How did it work with Herbert Ross doing the choreography and Richard Fleischer's direction? I mean, did Richard Fleischer basically bow to Herbert Ross?
Well, maybe to Rex more than to. I mean, in a musical, everything is pre-recorded. Of course, not by Rex. Rex does everything live, which makes it unbelievably difficult for everybody else because we have all pre-recorded everything and are now working to playback. But Rex, that's how Rex works. He has to have the music on the set, and he actually does it live at the actual moment. So we worked at least 6 weeks previously to the film starting, setting all the dances and pre-recording all the songs. So there's, you have the director for the music, and so there are 2 directors.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
2 full directors, yeah. And of course, Nora Kay, the famed ballerina, was married to her at that time, and so, we had excellent direction.
Yeah, it's interesting also that around that time, you had Charles Walters, Richard Fleischer, and Martin Ritt on the Montreal Choirs, 3 really important Hollywood directors. Maybe they don't get their due. I'm a big fan of Richard Fleischer. I know you're not. But I just wonder, sort of, is it good for an actress to have those sort of directors who know what they're doing, who know how to deal with the studio system?
Well, I wasn't really living in America at that time, and so I wasn't completely aware of these, even though I was under contract to both Columbia and Paramount, at the very end of that whole period of people being under contract. But it was the man, they were the men. I mean, Martin Ritt was just the most wonderful teddy bear and the most loving man. He had this great gruff attitude. He'd walk around and jowly face, but he was full of love. and Sean Connery and Richard Harrison, that extraordinary cast of the Molly Maguires, mostly blacklisted, but of course Marty was blacklisted, so we always made sure that everybody, not only on the crew, but on the cast, were blacklisted people. So that also opened my eyes up to the Hollywood blacklist and started to give me an idea of the history of Hollywood. I mean, I literally was an actor from England, and I did not have the knowledge of what this incredible city went through and this incredible industry went through, and how many people not only died sometimes, but not only some of your best artists had to leave this country. Now Marty never left, he had a family. He managed to make money by going to the races. That's how he made money, to pay for his 3 children and to keep food on the table. I mean, these stories are just so humane and amazing.
Up in the balcony?
Up in the balcony.
Up in the balcony, sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank you. I saw the film when it first came out and didn't remember how wonderful it was. You were beautifully, it was a beautiful performance on your part. I just want to say that quickly. And my question is, since you were talking about the ad-lib scene with the backroom rules, one of the charming things early in the film is when Cary Grant starts singing and whistling tunes from his earlier movies. Was that something that you put in on the set, or was that in the script?
I don't know that, but do you remember also in The Collector that when the girl was walking in Hampstead, she walked past one of William Wyler's films?
Yes.
I think that's something they enjoy doing, you know, it's
Yeah.
tweak, tweak. It's a little, many directors do that, and I'm sure, you know, Cary being the utter professional that he was, just obviously that put a smile on a lot of people's faces.
As it did today. Thank you.
Thank you.
The gentleman in the back row. No, you, yes. Next to back row, sorry. I thought you were in the last row.
Did Cary Grant, after being in the business for 3 decades plus, give any indication during filming that he had enough of the business and was contemplating retirement and this would be his last film?
Did Cary Grant indicate to you that this was going to be his last film, that he was tired of the business, he was getting out?
No, all he said to me was, go shopping for Diane. He always sent me out and said, go buy her some pearls. Go and buy her this, go and buy that. No, there's, and you know, there's something about Cary Grant, and I was talking to Tony. You know the expression, the 4th wall, you know, in the theatre? You've got the 3 walls and you never break the 4th wall. There's something about watching Cary Grant that you, as an audience, you think you're actually standing right in front of him. There seems to be nothing between his magnificent, handsome face, all of his life. You can look at Marlon Brando, but you know that Marlon Brando's an actor, as brilliant as he is. But I find that Cary, somehow, because of his extraordinary looks and his comedy, just give you that freedom to come to him. It's just an idea that I felt, and I think if the next time you watch one of his films, just, you know, see how friendly he is to you as an audience watcher. He's an actor, of course, but there's something about him that you go, he could be right there. You know, he could be right there.
Okay, Mr.
Samantha, were you able to see any of the Olympics at all while you were filming?
Were you able to see any of the Olympics while you were filming?
No, they'd actually finished. We couldn't shoot. We couldn't shoot. They just finished. But now that
shoot in the stadium, of course.
Yeah, we shot in the stadium. Well, everything was there, of course, because it was brand new. But when Cary did the walking scene, there again, they just put 3 hidden cameras in taxis, and they just shot him. They just let him go, and they just shot him, because they knew they would never, ever be able to organize that in the street. So, And I mean, the Japanese, you know, they're very polite, like the British. You just walk around like this all the time, so they had no idea who it was running in his knickers.
A gentleman there in green, I think it is. You, yes, you, sorry.
What do you remember about working with David Cronenberg in The Brood?
What do you remember about David Cronenberg and The Brood?
I love David. I love David. I think The Brood was, if not his first film, a very, very early film. We shot it in Canada. We shot it in Montreal. And he shot with maybe 10 in crew. And he was so smart and so intellectual and so kind that Oliver Reed, and it was freezing. I have a friend here from Canada, and she knows how cold it is in Montreal. It's like 30 below. But no, I think he's such an extraordinary man. I mean, that idea of The Brood came from the idea of hives on the body, and from that he wrote that horrible script. But the horror people love it.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Just wonder, any memories of Jim Hutton, who we lost too soon?
Jim Hutton.
So kind. I mean, what you saw on the screen is what he was, and absolutely, yes, we lost him too soon. His son looks so like him, it's extraordinary. I mean, but beautiful, beautiful human being.
Okay, and one last question, sorry.
Since you asked this question, I have a different question. You've had this opportunity to work with some amazing people. Is there anyone else that you think you learned either show business or life lessons from that we didn't get to ask you about today?
Are there any persons from whom you learned show business or life? Like what?
Lessons.
Lessons, thank you.
You learn every day. It doesn't matter whether you're learning from people in your business. I mean, you know, you go for a walk around your neighborhood, you'll learn something. It's that old thing of everybody has a book in them. We're all just human beings, and to meet someone and shake their hand, it's a blessing.
Thank you. And we have a really great human being with us.
Thank you for taking your schedule to join us today. We appreciate it. Samantha's off to New York tomorrow, but we'd like to present you with the Cinephiles Career Achievement Award.
I thank you for this, but you know what? I thank all of you, because for you to honor film this way and come to this festival is, you know, people all over the world love movies. I mean, the magic of film is absolutely universal. And I applaud all of you. Yes, I thank you for this, but I thank you for supporting and honoring. And Bob was telling me that a third of your festival are silent films, going back into the, you know, the early 1910, 1920. And I truly, truly honor you and thank you for this respect you have for this great, great industry, which gives pleasure to so many people to sit in the dark and to watch this screen and to be taken away for 2 hours, whether it's drama, whether it's horror, to be scared out of your pants, or to be, you know, we've all learned love from the movies. We did. We went to the movies when we were young and we watched these beautiful people falling in love. That's what we based our relationships on.
Come on, next
Okay.
to my photograph.
I apologize for the
Maybe when all the legal
Very
battles
fortunate.
start.
make sure I do this
Then the fight started.
correctly this time.
Thank you so very much.
I noticed
That looks good, but a safety would be nice.
What?
A safety shot.
Oh.
And
Go on simultaneous a year and also
perfection.
And I need to get him to the website.
the movies are
No.